Hello and welcome to the Durham Talents Channel. My name is Jesse Durham. For today's episode, it's going to be an interview with an acquaintance of mine that I've met through the infinite banking space. It's Mr. Doug Coach, as he's commonly known, Peacock. We had a great conversation about his exposure to infinite banking, his journey in implementing infinite banking, and what he's doing now as a professional in the space. And I hope that you enjoy. Fantastic. Well, so you know this, Doug, that we've only spoken once, maybe twice on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked to have a recorded conversation for other people's benefit.
Sure.
At the same time of getting my own questions answered, because you just sound like an interesting guy. So let's just do like you should with any good story. Let's kind of start more at the beginning, right? Like what connected us was infinite banking. You're in the infinite banking space. And I just would like to go back to, who were you when you got exposed to infinite banking? Just paint the picture of what life looked like, would you?
Sure, absolutely. I was a football coach for 38 years, primarily in high school. Spent one season in the USFL, which was a blessing and a curse, but otherwise it was all high school, and loved every minute of it. Changed jobs as football coaches often do. Also changed states, and the problem is my Florida years did not follow me to Indiana. And when I thought I was ready to retire, I get a wonderful letter from the state of Indiana that none of my Florida years counted. Well, I was down there 13 years. And my
Wow.
last job here was 18. So I didn't have enough either way to make them work. So I ended up having to teach a couple of years more. But the nice part is, um, when I did that, it made me look elsewhere because I knew this was not working like it was supposed to. Uh, I had actually it was my PNC agent that knew, I liked debt-free ideas, and I wanted to talk to people about that. And as I did, he said, "Hey, go hear this guy." Or start listening to him. And well, that guy happened to be Nelson Nash. And lo and behold, he was speaking in Louisville, which is a couple of hours south of me. And I had a chance to go see him. Met him, got a book signed by him. Um, and at that point, I realized this guy is speaking a completely different language than what everyone else was speaking. And the more I studied it, the more I loved it. Uh, I will tell you honestly, the first time I went and heard some other guys talk about it, I thought they were going to jail. I thought there's no way this this is legal. They just have an affinity for orange jumpsuits or something. I don't know, but I loved what it was doing, and the more the more I learned, the more I loved it. And so during my last few years of teaching, I was not coaching. I was just putting in years to get the retirement
Yep.
where I needed it to be. So I started uh, a small business on my own to go uh, see how this worked with people. And my main objective at that point was I had 38 years of football players. A bunch of them had student loans up to their nose in debt and weren't getting rid of it. And so I learned how to use that and show them how to use infinite banking to get out of their student loan debt. And it just took off. Now you got to understand, I could talk to those players, former players, in a way that I can't talk to you because we already had a relationship. We knew each other's faults. We knew each other's good points. We just, so off it went. And it really gave a lot of credence to what I thought was true. At that point, I just tried to find some people that I could work with. And unfortunately, I found some very um, untrustworthy, unethical people in this space that that did like orange jumpsuits, and they wound up there. Um, so I have literally become a one man show, if you will. My trust meter is very, very low because of my experience, but it's never been a low trust in what we do. There's been no doubt in my mind. I don't have there's no shadow of doubt in my mind that what we do is the best for anyone who is willing to learn. Okay. Now there's some people, um, there's some people that just aren't made for what we do. And I mean, you know, there's some people that love paying cash for cars or vacations and stuff like that. Um, they're driving to a job that they don't like. Um, signing up for qualified retirement accounts that they don't have a clue what they're going to be worth the day that they need them most. They prepay their mortgages because they hate loans. And I've been there. I've heard all that stuff. Or fun 529s, for a kid who may never go to college.
Yep.
And the whole shot. So just get in line with average Americans. If that's you, I'm not that. I'm not your guy. I don't. We're not going to go down the same path. But if you're a guy that wants a little more, if you're a guy that wants to step out and question everything, then let's question it together. And I'll show you some alternatives. Your decision. I'm not going to make a decision for you. That was the thing about teaching. When I was a teacher, and I had a health class as I finished teaching, and I would tell the kids all the time, look, I'm just going to give you options. I want you to think. I want you to decide what's right for you. If I'm deciding what's right for you, that's called brainwashing. All right. And there's a bunch of people that want to do that for you. And I don't want you to do that. And so, long story short, it took off, and I love what I do. Um, but I don't think. Um, First of all, there's a lot of Americans that don't want to think. They just want to put things on cruise control and believe that it's going to be okay by the time they get there. Um, please know the number one fear of retirees today is running out of money.
Sure.
And we can prevent that. What if we could promise you a paycheck even when you ran out of money? There's ways to do that, but nobody ever taught you that because it's not in the agent's best interest to teach you that. And that's the nice part. I'm a coach. I have a retirement from teaching and coaching, so I don't have to go out and sell policies or sell whatever to make a paycheck. It's wonderful. I get to coach you. It's just not in football where it hurts so much anymore.
I love it. So let's do this, because I've been a good student, coach. I've been writing things down as we've been having a conversation, things that stick out to me, right?
Sure.
And there have been a few things so far. Early on, you said something that caught my attention, and it was when you were describing being a teacher. You said that things weren't working out the way that they were supposed to. What did you mean by that? What did that look like?
I had the typical advisor. I had a teacher's retirement account. It's called a 403B.
Yeah.
Where most people are used to a 401k. Okay. It's the same, guys. It's the same IRS. It's just a different employment.
Yep. And I can't even remember. I'm cutting in on you. I know, but I can't even remember if I've told you that I was a teacher in the state of North Carolina where I live for a few years. Yep. I was a teacher, and then I headed up clubs at the school. I was at the high school and assistant band director and different things like that. So we've kind of got that in common, and that's neat. And I couldn't remember if I'd said anything to you about that. So I had all those traditional plans too. All right, keep going. Keep describing what that looked like.
So I had a meeting with my advisor, and 60 days before I was out of the classroom, we had a meeting about my retirement and what that was going to look like. He gave me a nice piece of paper. I mean, it was beautiful, had all these colors on it and stuff, but there's this red sash across the middle. I'm going, okay, so what's that? He says, that's the money you're short. I'm going, you think we should have had this conversation 3 or 4 years ago, not 60 days before I'm out of here? And at that point, um, I didn't know anything about infinite banking, truthfully, at
Right.
that point. I also didn't know I wasn't going to be out of there in 60 days. It was going to be, it was going to be
Couple
longer.
more years.
But
Right,
yeah,
right, right.
but the point is, at that point, I realized there had to be a better way, and I found it. And so that's what I teach people. If you're open to learning, if you're open to being different, if you're open to being criticized by other people, trust me, as a football coach, I've been called everything in the book anyway. It doesn't matter what you call me. I've already heard it. I've already been there, done that, got the t-shirt. All right. But um, if you want safe, dependable money for the rest of your life, we do that. We do that every day. And you just got to get your head around it. Now, if you can't think and you don't want to get your head around it and you don't want to change, we're not for you. I will not make a decision for you. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your money.
I
You
love
are
that.
your best investment. Your ideas, your creativity, the things that you want in your life are the best things for you. Period. There's not a stock, bond, mutual fund, I don't care, that's going to match that investment in yourself.
Right. I agree. And I talk with a good bit of, self-employed folks and
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurial folks, but really my heart goes out to the career people out there because I've been there and
Yeah,
because you've been there. And
yeah,
these folks are doing, and maybe they shouldn't change that, right? That
oh,
doesn't mean that everybody should be an entrepreneur. That doesn't mean that everybody should be running a small business or
no,
a big business or open a franchise or any of that stuff. But what I'm saying is that's an honorable profession.
well,
And there are folks out there doing all the right things and doing what they're told that they should do,
right,
contribute here,
right,
participate in this program, all this other kind of stuff. You're checking all the boxes while
yeah,
you're pursuing this career and making a big impact. And then you get to the end of it and pick your head up and start looking at that next stage, and your words stick out to me right there. It's not looking like it was supposed to look like, or like it
correct,
was portrayed to us.
correct. And how many people do you know that are in that boat? Guys, just go talk to retired teachers,
Yeah, or active ones.
period. All right. And they will tell you this ain't working out. Go look at general public in America. The guys, the last couple 100 years, let's just take the last 100 years, have been the most prolific to build wealth that there's ever been in America. I don't care what your race, I don't care your nationality, I don't care where you're at. I mean, if you go back and these numbers off the top of my head, now please remember I played the game of football, so head slaps were legal. So the numbers might be a tad off, but they're not far, I promise you that. The Wall Street is, guys, 53,000% since inception. That's not, guys, come on. The S&P was like 25,000 from when they started to when today. I mean, guys, Dow Jones started at like $47. It's over $4,000 today. So why aren't we all multimillionaires? Why aren't we all not only meeting the expectations of our retirement account, but far above exceed those things because it didn't work like we were told it was going to work. It was never intended for us to win. And if you believe that that a government sponsored retirement plan invested in Wall Street is the best thing for you, I cannot help you. Okay, good luck. You're going to need a bunch of it. When it doesn't work, call me.
Right.
Okay, because then maybe
Right.
we can help you. But I mean, guys, these are two industries that are known. I mean, they lack the integrity to be truthful with people, and I despise it. And you want to keep it, you can keep it. It's your money. I don't care. But at least I told you so. At least you know some truth that you never knew before. Now, you can decide, I'll help, I'll coach you through it. That's the neat part. I still get to coach. It's just not on a football field. But
Right.
the sweet part is you can control it. It doesn't take. With my 403, when I first learned that it wasn't going to meet what I thought it was me. I thought you're just too dumb. You can't figure this stuff out. And then I thought, well, it's no, it's just the market. The market is um, really not cooperating. In fact, that's what my agent told me was that, we couldn't get the market to cooperate. When have you ever been able to do that anyway, let alone right now? Which by the way, was 2008. Okay, so you
Ooh.
know what was coming in 2008, 2009. And everybody believes that, that real estate always goes up. Well, please talk to somebody that tried to retire in that area, and I'll share that with you. But the bottom line is that's how I learned that there had to be a difference. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, and that make you saying that again makes me think about something you said earlier too, when you
Mhm.
talked about being willing to expose yourself, and these are my words, but the sentiments there of being willing to expose yourself to other people's scrutiny or their disdain. Those aren't the words. You said something though
Well,
about,
you're going to
we're
be
doing something
criticized.
different here.
Yeah,
And
because you're going to
it
be
made me think
criticized.
about this idea that if we do what most people do, we'll get the results that most people have. And if we're not actually wanting what most people have, because
Right.
most people are not financially independent and autonomous, nor are they looking at a stellar, retirement age of life or passive income age of life, then maybe we should rethink our thinking and not do what most people are doing because we don't want most people's results are.
Right. Well, is there a time where you might be wrong? Is there a time where what you thought was true isn't true? And I mean, when I first heard this, I'll never. I heard this question: if what you thought was true about your money wasn't true about your money, when would you want to know? Well, the truth is 50 years ago, but that's not possible now. So today's the best day we got to go from here forward.
That's
And
good.
and you just guys, I trust me, there's a bunch of people out there who are selling term and investing the difference. Now, the problem is they're not investing the difference. But so let's just say that the whole concept really worked. Guys, I'm telling you, that was great in the 80s. There were maybe 100 mutual funds to get into. And yes, they did return 12% or more. Okay. But that is early 80s. Guys, that's literally 40 years ago. Now that I will tell you, that's when all the baby boomers were coming out of company pensions into their own 401ks, IRAs, and that type of thing. Guys, that ship has sailed. Sorry, but it's not hard to make money when you're getting another $3 million tomorrow into your mutual fund. Oh, and tomorrow another three because that's what was going on. Today, those same people now are bailing out and trying to retire.
Right.
Who's gonna buy those funds?
Right.
Who's gonna buy what you got? And they cannot prop it up forever. So you just consider that. I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not giving you investment advice. I'm not that guy. I'm that's my disclaimer. Okay. I'm just asking you to think.
Yeah. Yeah. These different things, like you're talking about the housing crisis in '08 and what the
Yeah,
market was like in the '80s and things like that. It comes home like this. I was speaking with a grandmother the other day, and she was, vetting this process for herself and asking questions about infinite
sure.
banking. And we're having a consultation call. And we're talking, of course, about, well, what does your financial footprint look like? And one of the things she had going on was a pension. But she brought up about how she wanted to begin sharing this information with her daughter about becoming your own banker because, and this were her words, because she's not going to have even the same things that I have. She's not going to have a company pension. Yeah. So that ever changing landscape, I guess
Right.
what I'm trying to say here is causing real life problems for people in all these different areas of what they are doing in their career, who is controlling the banking function in their life, what the marketplace does look like if we're trying to do what we're conventionally told to do. Whereas what we're saying is, well, your hub, your center, your whole financial foundation could be this
Mm-hmm.
idea of becoming
Mm-hmm.
your own banker. All right. So let me go back to that point in your
Mm-hmm.
story, then, Mr. Doug, to where you're putting in a couple of extra years now
Yep.
because retirement didn't happen as soon as you
Yep.
initially planned for it to do. And lots of people are in that boat. And I hope that they pay attention here. You're putting in some extra time. And at some point you talk or you have a conversation with your PNC guy, you said, and
Mm-hmm.
he referred you to Nelson Nash. But you said something back when we first talked about that, where you said that this debt free idea
Mm-hmm.
was sticking out to you. What do
I,
you mean by debt free had crossed your mind?
well, I grew up believing that I would do anything to be debt free.
Okay.
Um, I am a man of faith. I do believe the Bible. Um, but I will also tell you that that's not a salvation issue. All right. Um, while I didn't want to owe any man, anything, I also learned out there were some smart ways, albeit my or man's smart ways to leverage things. So, and what you just said is the key. Everybody wants to make this about insurance. It's not. It's not about insurance. It's not about investments.
Yeah.
It's about where are you storehousing your money? Where are you going to storehouse your wealth? And I coach two things. I coach control. If you give up control, you're not going to live the future that you think you're going to live. The retirement that you dream of is going to become a nightmare. Okay, you're not going to get that. You're going to forfeit your dream when you give up control. Don't believe me? Go look at the average American right now. They're wondering if they can make it to the end of the month. The other thing that we teach is accessibility. You've got to have access to that money. And I tell you, and it may have even been Jonah. You may have to cut that out, but I don't remember who told me this. But would you really, your 401, your 403, 457, I mean, it's an alphabet soup, right?
Yep.
Whatever those are, would you really buy a car at age 18 and not drive it until you're 59 and a half?
That's a good question.
That's exactly what you're doing with that money. Oh, by the way, and if you take it before that, if you want to drive that car before that, it's taxable with a penalty, 10% penalty. Now, what people skip out on that, you must start taking it at 72. And if
Mm-hmm.
you don't take it the right amount at 72, not only do you get taxed on it because you took the money, but you also have a penalty of 50%. Do you really think these programs are for you? No, these are fundraisers for the IRS and the government. Please, fight all you want. I don't care. You're not going to change my mind. But you don't have to be a part of that.
Right.
You don't have to do that. You talk about small business owners. Small business owners think they're, someday that, and trust me, I am one now. I did not intend to do that. There's no what I did not intend to do any of this that I'm doing now. I mean, when I first I got introduced to quarterly taxes. I mean, I mean, those are straight from the devil. Are you kidding me? What I got to pay more, and there was so much I didn't know, but it still didn't change the fact of what I was doing was right, and it was right for my clients, for my players, for the people that I know. Small business owners think they're going to sell their business for some extravagant amount of money because they love it and they should love their business. But the bottom line is nobody thinks about their business like they do.
Sure.
Okay. So
Sure.
what if you had enough safe money storehouse somewhere where you could literally finance the sale of that business to someone? Okay. I love that concept. Now, my kids are that way. Okay. In fact, two of them wanted to be teachers and I wouldn't let them be teachers. So off they went. But the great guys, the great part about it is you can control the banking function in your life, the loaning of money, the borrowing of money. And if you don't get that, let's talk because you've got to understand how a bank works. Example, and I'm going to say this because I can do the math. Okay. If a bank gives you 1% on your savings account, which we know is not going to happen, those banks aren't around now. All right. But they're going to give you 1%. Well, the next guy behind you in line is going to borrow money from the same bank at 5% to buy a car. Okay. Great. What did they just do? The average American thinks that bank just made 4%.
That's right. That's what they
Guys,
think.
that's not, but it's not true. That's just the spread. They took $1 and turned it into five. That is a 400% return.
That's such a big thing.
Now,
Say
people,
it again for him, Doug.
well, it's yeah.
Multiples.
If you, what if you could just get the interest that you were paying to a bank already? What if you could just keep that money into your account, into your cash flow? You don't need a retirement account to retire. You need cash flow. Okay? There's another premise. If you can't get that into your mind and you think the government is here to save you, you're in trouble anyway. Good luck. Call me when it doesn't work. Okay? But the bottom line is that banks are making tons of money off of a group of people, us, who don't understand how banks work.
That's
You know?
such a good question that you asked right there. I like that one. I remember when a similar one was asked to me about that spread or that return that you were just talking about,
Mm-hmm.
that bank's experience. And I
Uh-huh.
like to challenge people, and I don't think most people do this, but for the ones that do it, I think it's a light bulb moment for them. I'll challenge them. I'll say, pull out, all your payments from last month, the home, the car, pull out that
Yeah.
stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
And just do this, find out what your payment was, and then add up what went to principal and what went to interest. Calculate your full month's payment of interest only. And if that doesn't make you sick enough to want to do something different, like you said, like what if you could keep part of that? What if
Yeah.
you could keep all of that
All of that.
every month?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so much better than any return than anybody is going to experience anywhere. Nash in his book, he said that the average American, which means that some people are less,
Right.
but some people are more,
More.
is
Right.
paying out 34.5% in interest.
Yeah.
That's an incredible return, if you want to call it that. That's an
Right.
incredible amount of money for you to be able to keep. All right. So I like your coaching points that you brought up, that you're coaching people on control and access to
Yes.
their money, access to their capital. So tell me about that experience a bit more then, Doug, where your PNC guy turns you on to Nelson Nash. You go and get to hear him speak live somewhere. Can you remember if there was some particular thing that struck you or turned a light bulb on in you when you got to see him, meet him, hear his message?
I don't know that there was any one thing.
Okay.
Uh, First of all, so I was a Big Ten offensive lineman, so I can fill a doorway. Okay.
Yes, sir.
He was not. Right. And the picture I have, it's amazing. He's barely, I mean, he doesn't even make mid ribs. All right. I mean, he is a tiny fella.
Well, just for
But
reference, I'm going to be a lot more like him than I am like
yeah,
you.
well, I'm hard to hide. That's what I tell people. Okay, but it wasn't one thing that he said. Okay, I had studied the concept a little bit. I knew a little bit about what was going on. Um,
Okay.
so I knew what was coming. But what the what the difference to me in that meeting was the way he was saying it and the way he portrayed it. And I think that was all Nelson. He was also a man of faith. He did not make this about insurance. It was all about what you're doing with your life. What are you
Right.
doing? Where is your safe money? Well, if there's still a debate on whether you need safe money or not, you just haven't lived long enough. All right. If you've made a mistake with money, congratulations. Join the group. That just means you're over 12. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've all done that. We've all been there. And but my point is, what can we all agree that banks make money? They're
Hmm.
pretty good at it. I mean, there's a reason they own all the big stores downtown. I mean, the tallest buildings downtown they own. Every in our communities, every prominent corner has a bank on it,
Yeah.
right? That's not by accident, guys. And one of the things I teach my clients is in 2019, there were four banks that spent $54 billion on cash value life insurance. Oh shucks.
That's what we
Why?
call a clue.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, now, so the thing that hit me as a coach, when I see somebody winning with athletes that aren't as good as mine, I'm going to go figure out what they're doing because they're doing something different that's allowing them to accomplish much more with less.
I like that. Okay. Yeah.
Got it?
Yeah.
Well, now all of a sudden, I want to know why them four banks spent $54 billion. Well, now, so it's financial security, it's stable money, it's safe money. It decreases their taxes. If I have to explain that one to you, you're not 18. Grown, they get to grow their capital without unnecessary increased risk. That capital is going to grow.
Yeah.
Farmers, listen to me. Everybody's taught you the last 100 years of farming has changed immensely, except how we finance farms and get your sons in the farming business. We can do that. Somebody's got to teach you how to grow your capital that's available to you and your family and your farm. We
Hmm.
do that. Okay. If you don't like me, that's fine. I'll give you somebody else that can do that. But but the number of small of business people that need to hear this are astronomical. They
Yeah.
just got to
Yeah.
think different. But anyway, back to
Yeah.
back to the banks again. It's a perfect place for their emergency fund. Banks have emergencies also, right? It's a great place for that, and it's a great place to fund their retirement benefits. Time out. Is that not what we're all looking for? Safe
Hmm.
money, less taxes, unnecessary risk, tax free, accessibility, emergency fund, rainy day fund. Grandma called it a rainy day fund. Y'all, it's fixing to rain. Okay. The bottom line is employee benefits. Isn't that what we're all looking for? Why would they do that and then turn around and tell me to buy a CD or a money market or time out? Banks aren't doing what they tell us to do with our money.
Nope. They're running
Why
a
would
business.
that? So then I find out that there's this, and by the way, you want to look this up, go look up BOLI, BOLI. It's bank owned life insurance. Okay. But corporations have done it for decades, and it's called COLI, corporations owned life insurance. All right. Um, there's a book out there that, again, that will honk you off if you read it. It's called The Pirates of Manhattan, okay, by Barry Dykes. And
Yeah.
I actually think he's on volume 3 now. I think he's right. I think somebody told me the other day he's on volume 3. But it will truly upset you. 70% of the Fortune, over 70% of the Fortune 500 companies use life insurance to fund their executives' retirement accounts, not 401ks. Again, why? Why would they do that? And they all gave one reason. They had to have a predictable income in retirement. And
Yep.
a 401k could not do that for them. Guys, we got an answer for that. We can do that. I can also give you money that you can't outlive. Okay. I mean, even if you run out of money, they'll send you more money. And that's nobody does that. And what we do as far as taxability, there's nothing that has the tax favoredness of life insurance in the IRS like life insurance. It's just because, guys, we pick life insurance because it's guaranteed to grow. It's not because it's life insurance. It's not because we're in love with life insurance. Okay. You don't like life insurance, go ahead. Use Bitcoin, use real estate, use whatever investment you want to. But the bottom line is, like real estate, there's a day coming, it ain't going up. Now, what do? Even Nelson got caught in some of that,
Mm-hmm.
right? He had some real
Mm-hmm.
estate that he got caught in. And my point is, I'm going to use the foundation of my banking business for Doug Peacock is going to be an asset that's guaranteed to grow.
I love it.
And
Yeah, you mentioned that about.
that's whole life insurance. Do not use something else. Okay. And that's a whole nother topic. And we can go there if you want, but the bottom line, it's got to be a uniquely designed cash value life insurance policy, whole life insurance policy with a mutual company that has paid dividends for over 100 years to qualify for my company. I will not
Same.
sell you a policy that comes from a company that hasn't been around for 100 years and hasn't paid a dividend for 100 plus years. So the joke is, do the math. That means somebody got a dividend check in the Great Depression. Correct? Here's the joke. Where did they cash it? Because
Now that's funny. Yeah. Yeah. During World
all the
War
banks were
One,
broke.
during the Vietnam conflict, during the Spanish influenza, just if you just run what's happened in history in the past
Yeah.
100 years, and then think about that, and then I like that point that you had right there. Where did they go and cash it at? That's hilarious.
So
I'll say this about, I started to jump in, and I didn't mean to cut you off. I started to jump in
no,
when you said what you did about Nash and getting caught, in doing things conventionally. Again, that was one of the things that, were a moment for him to realize and to codify this infinite banking concept, was him doing things conventionally in the real estate world, just like we're told to do things conventionally
yep,
as teachers with these programs or in business or all these other things. He had done things conventionally, and he did not maintain control, which is one
yep,
of your big points
yep.
earlier. And that's what put the pinch on him, like it did anybody else that was doing the same thing. So I'll say this too, Doug. You said so much good right there. I would also encourage anybody to listen to Barry Dyke, to read his books.
Oh,
He's incredible to get in behind and to benefit from the research that he's done. Barry Dyke stuff, love that. You've mentioned scripture a couple of times too, so it makes me want to jump in. So when I was thinking about the name for my podcast or show, because I've been doing that for 4 years now, and Durham Talents comes from that scripture in Matthew chapter 25, where it's about these three individuals having a certain amount of money and what they did with it, and there's the whole story right there, right? And it was just my way of saying, I want to be doing the right things for myself. I want to be doing the right things, with my wife, for our children. We've got 3 children, Doug.
yep.
I can't even remember if I've told you that, right? This is one of the cool things about having one of our first conversations and recording it in this way. But when we started, doing this professionally, after just being good bankers, hopefully ourselves for our family, I thought, something about scripture, because that aspect of Nelson's message spoke to me. He's got scripture right there on the pages
Mhm.
of his book, when he's starting out a chapter, and you unabashedly mentioning it here just made me want to throw my hat in and say, even down to the name of the podcast and YouTube channel that I chose. I put my little scriptural reference by
Yeah.
saying, hey, this is us being good stewards and us trying to tell people, hey, you don't have to lock up your money. You don't have to lose
Right.
control. You don't have to take the additional
Right.
risk. You don't have to be fearful of money. You can be the banker. You can maintain the control and the profitability. So anyway, I just want to throw my hat in there and endorse
Yeah.
those things that you were saying about, encouraging people to,
Well,
to
if you
check out Barry
if you
Dyke's
want a
stuff.
master's degree in finance, just go read a proverb a day.
Absolutely.
And there's
Absolutely.
31 of them. How convenient, right?
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
Just go read Proverbs and do what that tells you. And well, I don't understand it. Do what you understand, and the rest will be made clear.
Yeah. And
Okay.
then you could circle back and do it again. And for sure, you'll see new
Yeah.
things the second time you
Yeah.
didn't see the
Every
first
time.
time. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Every
I'm,
time.
I'm right there with you. That's why I
So,
wanted to say
um,
something about it. So answer this for me then, if you
sure.
would, Doug. All right, so you began learning about infinite banking. You even got to see Nelson
Uh-huh.
yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I always wonder about this. What happens between the time where you're starting to understand some things and see some things, but you haven't paid your first premium yet? So I'd love to know what, questions did you have to have answered, or what, flip the switch for you to go from you're liking what you're hearing and seeing to, okay, I'm going to pay a premium. I'm going to be my own banker.
Yeah. I think actually that step is huge, but I actually think it was kind of easy for me because I was a systems guy in football.
Okay.
Okay. And we ran wing T football. So we knew that this play determined on what that guy does determines our next play.
Okay. Now I'm not
Okay.
I'm not necessarily going to follow your wing or your terminology,
I
but
got it. But
systems, I'm
but the
I'm with
bottom
you.
line is it was
Systems, systematic.
a system of football. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Well, the more I looked at this, I realized it was a system of safe money.
Love it.
And that's what got me to apply. Okay. Now then, filled out the application, did all that stuff, but I wanted the policy to be big enough to prove that it worked, or if I got suckered and they took all my money, it wouldn't crash me forever. All right,
Okay.
and that
Okay.
was the goal. Uh, and lo and behold, we did. I'll tell you, it was $800 a month, which is a lot
Okay.
of money to a teacher. It's a lot of money to a lot of people. I got that. Well, all it did was prove to me that everything they told me was true.
Right.
And so the first thing we did was finance my wife's car.
Okay.
I wanted, to me, that was easy because everybody finances cars, right? Everybody goes to the
Sure.
bank for a car loan. I thought, okay, if I can prove that this thing works with the car, it doesn't have to be a car. It can be anything. And so that's how I did it. And I literally, so I got another education when I went through all this. Guys, I had to learn it too. I was not taught any of this. My daddy was a truck driver. My mama was a principal secretary. Okay. Yes, at my school. So she knew I was in trouble before I did. And that was not good. But the sweet part is that I learned, so her car was $30,000. That also tells you how long ago it was. All right. But it was learning the difference between amortized interest and compound interest,
Okay.
because I thought that $30,000 at 5% for 5 years didn't matter. That's got to be the same number. I know a math teacher taught me somewhere that was the same number. I know they did. But yet when you do the actual math, the amortized interest, in other words, the money that I borrowed, the $30,000 at 5% for 5 years is $566 a month. That was my car payment. Okay. Now, whether I was going to send it to a bank or to myself was still hanging because I was still deciding. But the bottom line is You do that math, it's $33,968. Take away the 30 for the car, and I paid $3,900 in interest. Almost four,
Mm-hmm.
let's call it four.
Yep.
Okay. Compound interest, on the other hand, if I have $30,000 at 5% for 5 years, that grows to $38,238. Minus the 30 leaves me $8,200. Guys, I just made $4,200 by financing my own wife's car. I'm thrilled I made 4,200. She's thrilled because we got a new car. Everything is cooking, right? Oh my gosh. So it didn't, now the question wasn't not whether I wanted to do this or not, it's how many times can I do this, right?
Right.
And so if you're telling me that I can make 4 grand by financing a $30,000 car every 5 years, Mama's going to get a new car in 5 years. You know, she's thrilled. All right. I still drive an old truck and I'm still thrilled with it. But the bottom line is I didn't know that. Nobody taught me. In fact, I didn't think I thought that was untrue. You know, no way.
Sounded like voodoo magic first time I heard that. I was amazed by it.
Yeah.
I liked the sound of it,
Yeah.
but I was like,
Well,
how? Why?
I don't
Wow.
have the numbers on my head, but somebody said, would you borrow money at 6% to pay 4%? Well, I'm not borrowing money at more interest, but yet when you do the math, because one is amortized and one is compound, one's
Right.
decreasing, the other one's increasing, you come out making money even with that 2% spread against you. And
Yeah.
shut
I think when you hear that for the first time, yeah, you naturally think, okay, and I use that example often. If I could earn 4% guaranteed compound growth,
Hmm.
even if I paid 6% that amortized type interest, like you're talking about, yeah, I come up on top. And you can even toy with the numbers more than that. I think when that sticks out to somebody for the first time, they naturally want to go to their own calculator and they're starting
Sure.
to, and that's fine. I did too. I get it. That's fine. You test everything for
Let
yourself
them
that we're
do it.
talking about
Let
here.
them do
It'll
it.
blow your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
In fact, I
it
care
seems,
when I go out and meet somebody face to face, I carry a calculator.
yeah,
Here,
sure.
you do it.
I just go ahead and make a joke. If I ever use a calculator, and I will, from the front of a room, I was like, listen, I know some of y'all are going to be too polite to pull your phone out right now, but as soon as you get out in the car, you're gonna check my math, and I just
Well,
go ahead and have a big joke and laugh with them about it. But
we
yeah,
were
when
never
somebody does that for the
we
first
were
time,
never taught how wealth works, because where you storehouse your wealth determines how it's going to be treated. You must determine that. For those of you that think, okay, so let me jump back. I want 3 questions. You
okay,
think taxes are going up or down? Okay.
probably up
Yeah, most people think so. Do you want to pay taxes on the seed or the harvest?
when they
Now,
understand that question.
well,
Seed.
to a country boy in Indiana with around farms, we understand that. So
Yep.
here's my here here's my discussion for that. Do you want to pay taxes on one kernel of corn or the whole field full of corn?
Just the one kernel,
One
please.
kernel, please. Right. Now, do you believe a dollar's worth more today than tomorrow? And guys, I remember growing up, we could buy 3 candy bars for $1. You know, I mean, and not the little tiny mini things. Those were
Yeah.
unheard of back then. These were
Regular candy
candy
bar.
bars, right? Shucks, now you can't even buy a candy bar for $1. You know, so $1's always worth more today. All
Yeah.
right. So you take those answers, and everybody agrees the way we just answered. Everybody does that. All right. But yet, in your qualified account, you just violated all 3 of those. Roths violated one, maybe two. And so the bottom line is you're putting money into a state sponsored program, into a investment that you have no idea what it's going to be worth, because of the volatility. You have no idea what the tax rate's going to be the day that you need it most. Okay. Try retiring in 2008. What if you had a 529 that you had spent 10 years funding, and in 2009, junior's going to go off and be a freshman at college, and now your 529, became a 229. You lost 50%.
That's
What
funny.
now what? All right. So the crazy part, when I tried to retire, if you go back to 2000, during my last 10 years of teaching, my 403 became a 203 twice in 10 years.
Mm.
That's what brought the red sash in. Okay. Guys, control your money. Have control of your money. Now, I'm talking about investments here. I want you to invest. I want you to go invest in things that produce cash flows. I don't care what it is, as long as you understand it. All my young players, they say, well, I'm gonna go buy some Bitcoin. I say, okay, tell me about Bitcoin. They ain't got a clue.
That's good.
They can't tell me the first thing about it. No, do not invest in Bitcoin until you understand it. Now then, what do you understand? What do you love? What do you want to know about? Guys, I've got people who use policies to buy cows. I have beef farmers as clients that have had a policy long enough to buy their cattle when the price is right, not when
There you go.
everybody else is buying cattle. I had no idea any of that existed either. But man, they do. They know when that cattle price is coming down, and they're just going to wait just a little bit more to buy them right. Now all of a sudden, their margin of profit is so much more, right? And because the price of beef still going up. You don't believe me? Go visit. Guys, I've got guys that buy um, uh, antique fountain pens. Never knew any of that existed. Man, I mean, I sat down with him for a cup of coffee one day, and I got a 2-hour education on fountain pens. Okay, I had no idea. All right, still don't have an idea. I'm not the one to come to for fountain pens. I'll refer him. You want to know about them? But So and then I got other guys in real estate. So one of my former players is a construction guy, um, and corporate construction. I mean, he builds businesses and big businesses. So in fact, he had 5 policies. Okay, he had 4 kids. So now you figured it out. But the bottom line is he bought a $3 million warehouse. Okay, for $800,000 down, because he had the 800 in his. Actually, he only needed 200 in his account to get the 800 to buy. Are you following me? And I don't
Yep,
have
I'm
all those
with you.
real estate terms because I'm not a real estate guy. I love real estate. I think that's great, but I don't know enough about it to tell you how to invest in it. He does. Not only did he buy the warehouse, he also already had a vendor for the warehouse. He also had a contract to build out the interior of the warehouse for the vendor that was going to go into. I mean, he triple hit this thing, right? All because he had enough sense to fund a policy. And Nelson talks all the time about capitalizing a policy. He did, but he understood. He understood big numbers. A lot of teachers, they get free. You start talking, a couple $100,000, teachers will freak out. He didn't.
And
So
I love that you covering everything. And I've never heard of an example of somebody who's in the fountain pen world, but that just shows that, millions of dollars for this building, or cattle for a rancher, or fountain pens for somebody who's real special theirs. If I used your words and I said, well, these are all people that controlled their capital
yeah,
and maintained access to their capital, that's when they got to experience these benefits that hey, somebody's already in the cattle business. Hey, somebody's already in the real estate world. Hey, somebody already has this interest in fountain pens or whatever it happens to be. But because they had control and access to capital, they were able to optimize these opportunities that showed up. And that's Nelson's rule of the golden rule. You know, he who has the gold makes the rules. And
So
that's
the biggest problem we had with the cattle guy, he was had done this several years. Well, he was at the mercy of the cattle market, if you will,
yeah,
not necessarily the stock market. And
right.
he says, "Man, how do I get out?" So the first year, I think he only bought like two or three cows. He couldn't buy very many. Okay, but yet as we improved the process, now today he buys his entire herd. And
I
it's
love it.
it's taken him probably 8 years to get there.
But he was going to do that anyway.
He was going to do it
He was
anyway.
already in
That's
that
his
work. He was already
life.
in that right.
That's his life. He understood it. He knew what he wanted to do. Now let me just show you a way to finance it. Here's
Yeah.
another one we got, and all the numbers haven't worked out yet, but it was Grandpa Charlie owned the farm. Okay, and he literally started a policy with $20,000, and um, as they go, I'm gonna fast forward all the way to the future, okay?
Okay.
Because his great grandson got the farm and had $11 million to run the farm off of that original policy, because we took three as soon as Grandpa Charlie died, his son got that money. Now he rolled that money right into a policy, and off we went, right? And so the bottom line is that at great grandson had $11 million to run the farm. Their cost of insurance was just a little over 17 cents a dollar out of pocket.
Incredible.
Yeah, because they were using all the benefits of the policies. Guys, once you understand what this can do for your family, it's no longer about you. It's no longer about your bank. How do I get my kids out of this financial stuff that they've been sold? Oh, I got an answer. So I have a policy on all my kids. I have five grandkids right now. I got another one coming in January.
Congratulations.
So
Awesome.
so I have 10 policies, fixing to have 11. Do them. I mean, come on. No, grandpa owns them all. Okay. But I have control of the money. I have use of the money. Sounds familiar. But now then, when they hit 20, and I don't need the policy, heck of a graduation gift, don't you think?
Oh, yes, sir.
So you cannot be afraid to talk money with your family. And many people are. I mean, that was taboo when I grew up. We didn't talk about money. We didn't talk about how much dad made. We didn't talk about how much mom made if she worked outside the house. We didn't talk about those. You need to talk about those things and what you're going to do with that money. And if you need help, guys, it doesn't cost you a dime to talk to me. Not a dime. In fact, if your advisor's charging you to talk to him, you got the wrong advisor. That'll get me in trouble, but that's so well.
You can say what you want.
Okay. Yeah. So far in America anyway. So my point is, what I learned from a bad retirement in teaching will be a blessing to my entire family, their families, as well as my grandkids and their grandkids. Oh, shucks. Okay? Because this lasts forever. And if you follow the fundamentals, I'm not talking details. I'm like you. I didn't know there was a fountain pen industry. I didn't even know that existed. But he did.
Yeah.
Okay. Talking about weird things. I had another guy buy $200,000 for an antique car. I'm going, you know, Tom, don't tell me what this is for, because I get notification of big loans out of my client's policies, right? And he's borrowing $200,000. I'm going, Tom, what are we doing? He says, Coach, relax, relax. And he gave me the name of the car. And the biggest tip is I didn't know any of those words. I had no idea. It wasn't
But again,
Chevy
he
Ford,
did.
but he knew exactly what he was doing. I said, so what's the plan? He says, Coach, let me have 6, 8 months with it, and it's worth 800.
Ooh.
I said, because he understood the antique automobile industry. Put him with cows, he doesn't know what he's doing. Put him with Bitcoin, he doesn't know what he's doing. But you put him in antique cars, shucks. And that's what I'm telling you. What do you love? Invest in you. Now, let me show you how to finance that. All right, where you make all the money, not ship the money to some other bank or financial institution.
I love it. What, Doug, I feel like this is, the 100 level class. And I'm already
Well,
envisioning it, if you're willing and gracious enough to have more
oh,
calls, I'd be
I,
more than willing to have more with you. I got more questions that I'd like to ask. I love the insights into, how you've personally used infinite banking, how you're
yeah,
coaching other people to use infinite
yeah,
banking. Again, I've got more questions myself, but I want to
yeah,
be respectful of your time too. You are a professional in this space now after having personally implemented
yeah.
infinite banking. How could people reach you or get in touch with you?
Easiest way is text me or leave a message at my number.
Okay.
Okay. Again, I told you I had a bad experience with several people, so I am. You're not going to get a secretary. You're not going to get an assistant. You're going to get coach. All right. It's 317-697-6321. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if I don't know you, leave a message because I ain't answering people I don't know. My late kin in Kenya, the prince that died has already left me so many millions that I should just go get that. But the bottom line is I will coach you. I will not sell you. I'm not that guy. I will coach you. But now then, you better understand. Once you see this, you can't unsee it. Okay? And I don't care how long it will, I'll be back. I mean, I've had people circle back 3, 4 years later
Sure.
and come back and say, Coach, we need to talk. I said, great, let's talk. I said, nothing's changed here. I said, I'm doing the same thing I did, 4 years ago. I still am. You know, the fundamentals are fun. We run, block, and tackle. If we do those three things really, really well, we're going to win a lot of football games, right? If you control your money, have access to it, and make sure you take care of your family, you're going to win a lot of games. All right. It's just with
Yep.
money instead of football. Yeah.
I love it. So I'll put whatever contact info you want me to in the show notes as well. And that's another
Yep.
one of those things that I wrote down earlier was when you mentioned that there are bad actors, bad apples, in this
Yep.
space, like there are in every space. I wrote down that word trust meter that you mentioned earlier and that you just said again just right now. That's one of those things that again, I've got more questions we could return to. And I've decided to do things the same way. I like to personally answer my phone. I personally respond to comments on the YouTube channel and episodes that I release.
Yep.
It's one way of doing the business, and the business is done lots of different ways. It's the manner that appeals to me. It's the method that appeals to me as well,
Yep.
where I will personally be talking with folks. I'm going to be their personal point of
Yep.
contact the whole time, and I just appreciate your coaching demeanor. I
Well,
appreciate your perspective. I appreciate you sharing,
I'll
your
I'll
insights with us.
I'll never get away from that. So now another way, if you don't want to talk, that's fine. Peacockwealthgroup.com.
Love it.
Okay. That's the website. You can find that number on the website that I gave you earlier, but that will give you some ideas of things that we're doing uh, and expanded to things I mean, so now instead of taking care of student loans, we're showing people how to finance a college education for junior.
Yeah,
And
go to the start of that whole process.
oh yeah,
Absolutely.
catch it before you owe all that money, before Sally Mae ruins your life, which I guess it's not even Sally Mae anymore. Navient or something like that.
Right. But that
But
whole idea that the next generation does not have to start where we started at.
correct.
We're leveling up.
In anything. I don't care whether it's your farm, your business, your life, your education. Oh,
all of it. Yes, sir.
All of
I
it.
agree. Listen, Doug, you're going to hear from me. I've got your cell phone now too, as well as the rest of the world.
Well, the nice part is I've got yours, and I will promise this: if we're talking or you become a client, I will answer your call. Now, it may not be immediately, but I will answer your call. You've earned the right to get me to answer your call. Now, if I don't know you yet, let's make sure we know each other, and then I'll answer your call. Otherwise, you get to leave a message.
I love it. I love it. Well, I'll make sure to get that info in the show notes and everything too. Doug, thanks for having a conversation with me. I just, you're one of those folks, and I'm like you, and that's why I wrote down that trust meter earlier, that I try to be real particular about who I associate with, period, but I want to be open-minded enough to have a conversation with anybody. When somebody tells me that they met Nelson and they started this process earlier than me, I've not arrived. I'm still on my way, and I want to have a conversation with that person. And I just thought that, this is going to be a great way to be able to meet that end for me, glean from your experience, but also go ahead and put it out there for everybody else who's vetting this concept for themselves, because I believe that everybody's got a unique perspective and a unique story that benefits everybody if it gets out there.
This can benefit everyone if you ask enough questions. How's that? Because
yes, sir.
You've got to ask them to know.
Asking you'll receive, right?
Well, exactly. But it's according to what I know, not his riches and glory. Okay, so I'm just going to let you know that part, the rest of that verse. But the key is, this can work anywhere if you're willing, right? But you've got to be able to question things. You've got to be of the mindset that what you thought was true isn't true, which now gives you a problem, because now you got to do something about it, or you're going to get the same thing that everybody else has got, and that's running out of money in retirement. That's not fun. That's not fun. I mean, I see them every day, talk to them every day. So,
yeah, no question.
Love to talk to you, just to answer questions, just what we did. I mean, there's no chance of us doing business with you. That's not the point. My point is, there's some learning to be had. All right, take it and use it.
I love it. Those are good final words. I say we wrap it up right there. And
all right,
again, I appreciate you, sir, very much.
Anytime you want to talk, we'll go. Anytime.
All right.
We'll make room. I mean, I'm doing. It's funny because once you get out there in the podcast world, your name gets out. So I love doing them, because now I can influence people that I don't even know. I don't even know the people that are going to watch this or hear this or anything. But if anything I have said makes any bit of sense to you, then talk to me, or talk to Jesse, or talk to somebody that you trust, that's not selling you something. And if you need to know the keywords not to hear, maybe that's what we talk about some other time.
That's okay. If they're personally doing this.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, those are all good things we could talk about next time. So yeah, I'll leave it at that for now. Again, okay. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to it. Well, that was a great pleasure for me to be able to share the conversation that I knew that I wanted to have with Doug, to get to know him more and learn about his experience and hear his story of getting exposed to how to become his own banker. If you found that helpful, had a question, make sure to put those comments and questions below, and I will answer those. Doug may see those and answer those as well. Regardless, his contact information will be in the show notes if you'd like to reach out to him. If you and I know each other and you'd like to know more about what it could look like for you to implement the infinite banking concept into your household or your business or your investing, don't hesitate to reach me at durhamtalents.com. But this has been a great pleasure for me, and I look forward to our next conversation. My name is Jesse Durham. I teach people how to live and leave a lasting legacy. Have a great day. Take care.